right, we are sitting here with Ryan from the Smoke and Rope podcast and Redemption Cannabis. Welcome, sir.
Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mentioned the podcast first because that's where I had first heard of you. So it predated your fantastic brand, but I cruised through your page and saw all of this fantastic flower cartridges, all of that sort of stuff on there. So I was interested in speaking with you about that. And I had also first heard of you on your podcast, like I said, when you had, we're talking about the MCMA, talking to, what was it, Rick and Jamie on there? Yep. Yeah, and you guys had a fantastic discussion on there. So I was interested in hearing about Redemption first, and then maybe after that we can go through kind of the history and how you made it to where you are now.
I want to talk about
I know you were a caregiver. Yeah, I know you were a caregiver and all that stuff, so that's really exciting.
Cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So Redemption Cannabis is my brand, and I have right now I have 3 growers, licensed growers that supply flower, fresh frozen, and material. And next week I'll be announcing 2 new ones. I'm excited about launching, getting hit with new genetics and new strains. But we have prepackaged dates. We have single source live resin carts. We just launched 4 strain specific RSO, which I'm a big I take it every night, and I'm a big believer in it, and that's what really changed my life with cannabis about 11 years ago. So I'll talk about that a little bit. And then we have full flower gram joints that are all it's all the smaller B's and C's and a little bit of the shake. So like it's none of the trim and the outdoor remediated stuff that's so prevalent. And we also we launched with some THC diamonds. We were about to do that again with Humblebee. Actually, they'll be available in a couple of weeks, and then we're going to be doing some rocks and sauce as well. So I'm trying to do products that that I like personally and that I use the most, and that's kind of the idea behind it. Like just like even with the single source cart, so and the RSO, something that I like, and that's why I do it. So I'm right now in about 70 stores, and I don't have enough supply. That's why I'm ramping up with more growers, and we're just going to kind of grow to about 100 stores and kind of call that good for Michigan. I'm in mostly old caregivers or stores that made it through. A lot of mom and pops, and if a store is doesn't work, we just don't sell to them anymore. Like kind of like the soup Nazi a little bit, and it's great. Just working with a bunch of really cool people that are sharing the vision. So I was lucky enough. It was starting my brand. Gage Cannabis gave me a $50,000 grant to do it, and part of that was to start my Redemption Foundation. And I've done a lot of work as far as we teamed up and started the Great Lakes Expungement Network with Sons and Daughters United. We started the Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition, and that's with Less Prisoner Project and Weed Maps and the Michigan Democratic Caucus. And we've also doing a lot of work as far as just supporting other groups like Force Detroit in Detroit that's doing a lot of the groundwork and on expungements and trying to help those people. So just doing a lot of activism and getting a lot of help from a lot of great people, and 10% of all my revenue goes to my foundation. So that's been great. Had some big fundraisers, and now as we do vendor days, usually a percentage of the sales or a dollar amount, the stores are all been on board donating that to the foundation or to the expungement network. So kind of getting it all work together, a lot of synergy.
That's outstanding, man. I really like to hear about the action in the community and giving back where you guys are located at. So that's really, really good, man.
Yeah, when I had first heard Ryan on his podcast, he talked about all of the things that he had done like throughout the years, working to get cannabis legalized, working to get, fight for things pushing in our direction. And he's consistently done that forever. So that's really, really cool to see.
I appreciate it. And you guys kind of asked me that. I tell this story a bit now. So just, I was, when I was 12, I grew up in a little town called Dansville. It's in Ingham County, farm kid. And I fell off a tractor when I was 12 in the winter, and I threw my hips out of the place. It was high up, and I got prescribed 3 Flexerol a day when I was like 12, and like so like that started fucking me up. And like I was an athlete and did well in school, and then the next year I discovered cannabis, and like I actually hid my cannabis use from everybody in school because I was playing sports and didn't want to get in trouble, and that kind of like changed me early on. And then I had a good career going, but and was doing well, but completely I guess fulfilled, and always been a big proponent of cannabis and wherever I was at and loud about it. And then 2008 we passed the law, and I think is this real? And that's when it really hit my attention. So then I became one of the first patients and caregivers in the state in 2009. And that's when I met people. I met Jamie Lowell and Rick Thompson and, Robin Schneider, like then 2009. And then in 2010, I opened up on Michigan Avenue and May 7th, the second dispensary in Lansing. It's called Capital City Caregivers. I put together 3 buildings that were in Okemos, and I was a landlord as one of them, and we put 3 caregivers in them, and with 72 plants or less, and had Stuart Dunnings, the prosecutor, state police, everybody approved it, and we were off and running, and we went around and we recruited. We started Michigan Association Compassion Centers, and we ended up getting over 50 members in 2010. They were all dispensaries across the state because we knew we were going to get attacked, and it was starting to happen, but. That's when in the fall, it was December 1st, 2010, I knew the cops were watching me, and I knew the feds were watching me because the DA agent had gotten to argue with my cousin at a party. And we actually got raided. Granholm approved it on our way out by the National Guard. So like we got raided by, this is 12 years ago in Okemos, Michigan on a legal caregiver grill. Like they brought in the military, and it was troops and smoke bombs through the windows, and it was fucked up.
Oh, come on, man.
12 years ago in Okemos, Michigan. So, so that was before Robacher Farr. So I look back on it now, and I was like, realized how crazy I was so pissed off. I went on channel 6 and 10 the next day and was like talking a bunch of smack to the DEA about it. And not a good idea looking back on it now, but I was so pissed. And, we just kept going along. We kept the store open.
Yeah, I've heard where the story goes. So yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. So like, but for me, like when I opened up the store and saw people like getting off opiates, like coming up, family members. And then when I learned about RSO, and I did watch a little girl stop having seizures in 2010, 6 years old. And then watching people bringing in their CAT scans and different things on tumor shrinking. So at that point, I knew I was doing this like the rest of my life because I'd always been pissed off about the prohibition of it. It was bullshit. And at that point, so I just looked at it like, all right, this is going to be part of it, I guess. But we kept going. I got pulled over 8 times over the course of about a year and a half, and they always shook me down. And helicopters every day, even had Chinook. I lived deep in the country, and had Chinooks would fly over and hover for an hour or half hour at a time and follow us out. But eventually, I got raided again real hard on in my house. And that was it. And then we found out we were going to get indicted, and they ended up indicting my now father-in-law and brother-in-law at the time, and as well now. So I was going to fight it. It was pre-Robacher Farr, so we didn't have the protections of Congress yet. We got 14, but I ended up being the last to plead guilty. But then I spent everything I had saved. It was a good chunk of money, and I didn't even make it to trial. I didn't understand the federal system quite. So they were going to indict. Yeah, they were going to indict my now wife. She was caregiving too, and then they held that on leverage. So I ended up pleading guilty, and they gave me 4 years, and off to Morgantown, West Virginia I went, and I participated in the behavior modification program in there, which is the only way to get a year off without being a snitch or something like that. But that program was nuts. I was in there with U.S. senators, drug kingpins, and everything in between, and made it through that. I had joined. I was part of the Native American group that sweat lodges every week, and just did actually turn it into a pretty good experience. Obviously it sucked, but got out, got to halfway house in Kalamazoo, and just watched as far as how fucked up the system was, and how like most of the dudes I was in there with went back to prison. They didn't even have a chance. It's like totally stacked against you. And that was tough to watch. But actually, on the way out in 2014, I was watching it in prison. We watched it on CNN when it passed. But on my way out in 13, we got it on the ballot and funded it in the signatures to announce in Lansing legal and change the Lansing charter amendment. So you talked about the legalization effort. That was big in Lansing because they hated it because the city council wasn't allowed to make any anti-marijuana ordinances because we changed the charter on them. So that was cool, but got out and eventually I worked for my good buddy, Bob Eldori. He's an attorney and a musician. And he kind of protected me on from what I was doing with the halfway house. And I taught myself I just stay up all night and watch YouTube videos on how to build websites, how to do social media. And I ended up picking up like 20, 25 marijuana accounts, all my old friends. And then I got hired by My Legalized too. So I was kind of off and running and got going. And then in 2017, early on, they let me off probation. I was supposed to get 8 years and they let me off right at a year. And the judge even apologized, which was something. And at that point, we were going along and, things were starting to go good. 2016, the law passed. I was getting involved with knocking up properties. But then that's when I found out Pat Miles Jr., who was going to be the next Democratic AG. It was a done deal. The national party supported him, the state party, and it was the UAW and the Detroit Black Caucus. So, and he went to Harvard with Obama. But that's who indicted me and my family. He did, and it was for marijuana. He did it at the time. He even told my lawyer this for like political gain. It's a high profile case. So that's why it was one of his excuses. And then, so I found that out and we were going to legalize with Prop 1 at the time that year. And then I found out through Michael Comorn and Jamie Lowell about Dana and Dana Nessel. And I went down and spent about 4 hours with her at Panera in Brighton. And I didn't realize how big a long shot it was, but I was hooked. She's a force of nature if you talk to her. And we got going. We held fundraisers, and it was causing a big stir. And my case ended up being like the focal point of the whole primary. And I was getting we were on these Democratic chat rooms, me, Rick, Jamie, Bob, other accounts, and his campaign ended up. We found out spent about $100,000 on trolls just attacking me and my family, my case, and we just battled them and got to introduce Dana at Hash Bash leading up to the primary. And then we went to Kobo and it was nuts. It was like a rock concert. It was like 7,000-8,000 people there for this primary. And it was just chanting all day long. And then, but Dana came out from behind the curtain, hugged me, said we'd won. And, that's when Pat Miles had to give his concession speech. And I'd been getting warnings through the channels that if he won, I needed to leave the state again. So my PTSD was through the roof at that point, but he won and he had to give his concession speech, and so did his political director. And I stood right on the stairway and he basically had to bump into me on the way down, on the way out. So that was awesome. Then we got
dude, it's never a dull moment with you, man. Fuck, you're either grinding or fucking something, man.
Yeah, for the viewers, the case he's talking about is referred to as the Okemos 7 in the news, if you want to read about it and stuff. It was one of the first examples that I can think of where the federal government stepped in and superseded the state rights, right? That was the thing that all the growers were afraid that would happen, because what we do is technically federally illegal. Well, Ryan here and his friends that were all following the rules got made an example of by the feds right before they decided to, ignore that part, I guess.
Yeah, well, the 14, they passed the Robocker-Farr Amendment that defunded the DEA to $1 in medical states, and that's when the Fed stuff stopped. But we were the first Michigan Fed one after Obama and Holder had said they weren't going to do it.
Yeah, but it's those last vestiges of them being able to slap the shit out of somebody on the way out is what they really go for, and it's just really unfortunate.
I just wanted to reiterate that because it's such a shitty thing that happened to you guys, and obviously it's not happening anymore, and that's really nice. But you really went through it to get where you are now. I think it's quite the story.
Thank you. It's it makes I am a happy guy, so just as far as being grateful and hitting rock bottom and coming back, it's a process. So, but it's a lot of work. So like every day I can't believe I get to do this. I sit in the office in Old Town in Lansing and sell millions of dollars of weed over the phone now and smoke joints all day. So I can get to help people. So it's cool. I love it. But getting back to the Dana story, we ended up raising a lot of money for her. She was going against Tom Leonard as a challenger. He was the Speaker of the House, and she got outspent 7-1, but ended up winning. I was on her transition marijuana team, and actually like from having Bill Schuette literally send goons to my house multiple times, his top guys, and doing stuff. I've been dotted up quite a few times where you look down and it's just all red dots on you, and they're just coming out to harass me to now like hanging out, not smoking with, but like not having the AG care if you're smoking, it's a trip. And then, in Ingham County, we have Carol Seaman, our prosecutor, is the only prosecutor that out of 83 that endorsed Prop 1. And then, I'm hoping for some real good new USAs on the Eastern and Western districts, but they haven't been appointed yet. But at the same time, we passed Prop 1. And that's when, you talked about the MCMA. We had been dealing with, we can get into that a little bit, but like that's when we almost got beat by the MCMA. It was at the end of 2018 when we passed Prop 1. There's this little window in time where the lame duck session where they can change the law, and they had the majority, and the governor would have signed it. And that's when Rick Johnson, Arlen Meekoff, Steve Linner, Manny Lentine, all these people, and it's the group, those 5, 6 groups, and the other ones that are being silent now. That was them from the beginning. They set that up from the beginning. So, but what happened? Tom Leonard, who got beat by Dana, he's an honorable man, and Robin Schneider and Kevin McKinney went up and had relationships, and he blocked it in the House. So we came close to having a shitty law, real close. I wouldn't be participating, and I wouldn't be able to. They almost got us. But when that happened, and we knew it was happening, we were like we worked so hard over the years to get to this. Like we got to protect it. So that's when Robin been talking to me a lot, and Josh Hovey, who was the spokesperson for Prop 1. Like we got to start this association now. So we launched it when all of a sudden there was no more flower on the market, which was designed by the MCMA in the lobbying process. It was only a few companies that had it and selling for $4,000. BP Chesaning, Green Peak, Pleasantries. All these guys were the ones that did that. It was a plan. But that's when we had a press conference and worked hard to get the caregivers back supplying the dispensaries. And then, I did that for about 9-10 months and recruited a lot of members. I set up an insurance program that now is creating a lot of refunds and building it up. But we needed it. It's all built on all the board members are caregivers and came up. So and then, Robin's been doing activism with me since 2010. And so it's really one of the only trade association groups in the country or the world that's not just business people. It's like people that hold true to what got us here in the culture. So we, overall, we're over our dead bodies will anything happen to the law like that. So that's why I love the state we're in Michigan. We almost got beat that one time, but we've been battling these guys for a while, and it's the same crew. Steve Linder led the group when there was the 10 big grows was going against Prop 1. It's called the MCN. And that was like the Ohio model that got defeated when Nick Lachey was involved, some of the same people. And it just transpired.
It's all lobbying. It's all lobbying, man. You have to realize that either you're going to be lobbied against or you're going to try to lobby for something. But if you just sit back on your hands, you'll get lobbied right out of everything.
You will. And what's so unique about Michigan is so when we started in 10, we only had Virgil Bonero would talk to us and Jeff Irwin. That was it. Nobody would talk to us, and we were pariahs. So we did ballot, and we had to learn about ballot initiatives locally to teach the politicians that the public wanted this. And then, we worked on campaigns. We got to know. Next thing you know, I can call up my state rep, my state senator, the AG, and I'm a marijuana felon, in business, and we worked so hard and helped to get people elected and put this big group together that these out of state companies and these guys got pitched. Oh, you just picked, you go to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Illinois, what they did, you hire the top 5 lobbying firms in the state. and you get whatever you've done. There's no network of people stopping it. So they trying to do all this stuff that works here. Colorado sold out already, but they didn't have that 10-year, 12-year history of caregivers and of getting into it. So like in Michigan, you can't come in and buy up the lobbyists and get anything done. It doesn't work that way. And then we have the super majority on our ballot initiatives too. So we're in a great place to play defense and the whole time, and but it's red alert at all times. Like you didn't get all, this isn't nothing. Like you're not getting our doors kicked in anymore, not having everything taken.
No, but the trade-off is you have to remain vigilant, though, ever vigilant on it, because there's always going to be somebody trying to make a buck somewhere and cut somebody else out of something that they need.
Yeah, that's what drives me nuts as far as what I've learned over the years. And it's these guys that will call themselves, major capitalist and free market. Like, no, you're not. You can't compete on the free market. You're going into the back door to get legislation so you can be profitable. Like, just let us compete. Like, that's what a lot of it's going on right now. I do love what's happening in Michigan. The people, I'm in a lot of stores, and the stores that really know how to jam are the ones that have been doing it for a while, and understand it's not corporate retail does not work in Michigan at a dispensary, a provisioning center. You got to have both. You got to know the hustles and know about the plan. It's not just a plug and play Verizon store. But I was going along and I was consulting for a lot of big companies coming in at the time in 18 and 2, and I was getting told by all these guys how they're just going to roll over us, and they're coming in. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess we'll see. But that's when I met the guys at Gage, the Hernandez brothers. They own Hydro King, and they've been in Detroit for a long, long time. And they were cool. Like, they're the only ones smoke. They knew about my story. They were smoking with me. We were looking at a building, and then they just said, hey, we got this grant. We want you to be the first recipient. You got a business idea? And I said, sure. And I took off with the brand from that. And that was when nobody was branding flower or white labeling it in Michigan, because you could just sell it. Like, it was gone. We put it on the market at $4,000 or $3,500. It was gone. But my friend Drew Driver, who's been a caregiver since 2009, and then Tom Beller at Real Leaf, he's been a caregiver since 2009. And so Kevin Pybus, from Howell, he moved back here in 2013 when his dad got sick, and opened up Canna Sewer and stuff in Lansing. But he was in Colorado, a caregiver for a long time. So I just picked those guys, and I knew I could trust them, and started the foundation, and it's just it's grown from there. So kind of that in a nutshell. I'm sure I left a lot out, but I love talking about thinking about where we are today after all that.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. And like you said, you had to fight hard to get here. You're going to have to fight hard to stay here for sure.
And it needs that timeline too. You know what I mean? You need to see the progression of things, of how it's gone.
Of course, the name Redemption makes a lot of sense when you hear the story, and going to prison for the bullshit, getting out. Time is the most valuable thing to me. So I think that's a crazy, crazy, shitty thing to have happen. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing to see what you've done with it, and what you're continuing to do. One of the things that I thought, or one of the things you said that I thought was fascinating, way before this timeline story, was one of the products you're making now in the strain-specific RSO. Yep. I believe you're probably the only person that I've heard of that makes that product, because us on the show, we've talked about it. Most of us are enjoyers of RSO for one reason or another. And we also have a friend of the show that's a cancer patient that we've been just giving RSO whenever we can, and it's been working very well for him. What are the benefits that you've seen from the strain-specific RSO on your level?
Well, for me, I learned about it in 2010 when I saw work on seizures and work on tumors and other things. So like for me, I got on it, and it really acts like a huge, for me personally, an anti-inflammatory, a muscle relaxer. I take it every night. I sleep 8 hours. As far as and for me too, like right now, the only RSO that I know on the market and you could get, it's just whatever people could get thrown together, and that's fine. It's still good, but like you can't. It's not repeatable at that point. Like what's working for you? Like what like cannabinoids and what terpenes and everything, what's working for you and why, and to be able to experience that. So Driven Grow, who I'm doing it with, Dan learned from old Gersh and John Roberts back in the day, from the original, Cancer Project, and have been involved and given a lot away. I take care of a lot of people from where I'm from too, and watching it even with my dad. He lost part of his leg, and he was addicted. They had him on a lot of opiates leading up to that, and watched him try to get off that, and then boom, on the RSO, and it was no problem. The nurse was like, "How are you sleeping through the night?" And he's, just laughing, and just the quality of life for everybody. And I had somebody, all the people reaching out, like with questions now. It's become so much normal. And I had a longtime friend reach out, and he was worried about his wife, some stuff going on with the brain, and RSO reached out, and that's what they're looking to do, to try to help. So the anti-seizure medicine, and try to hold that into place, and just to be able to do that now. And it's great, because where I'm from, it's a little town. I'm related to everybody, and there's a lot of shit being talked about me when I went away to prison, but now, like, a lot of those people have even, family members even, of like, they're on it now, and they've changed a different tune. It's a lot different going out there, and it's rewarding, and to have. So this is, it's a lot of fun. I'm soaking it all in, to go from the whatever, we're not a pariah, but just the shit that people want to talk when you're down, and to now you get to help them with it too. And they apologize, and they're like, "Yeah, I thought you were," like the stuff I've heard that people said they thought about me, and we're family, or like longtime friends, just a bunch of the hillbillies, and so like it's just awesome. It's awesome to get so many people on it. And the strain specific RSO, now I'm real proud, because if I don't have it, or people just want to get it, I can direct them to Stone Depot in Jackson, or local routes in Lanesburg, some other spots in Lansing that are carrying it too. I totally underestimated the market. We just launched with like 3,000 grams, and that was gone like in an hour. As I've talked and learned, and so I'm like, all right.
Well, I think it's also because so many people have had a history of a problem with opiates, that when it comes to managing pain, that they want to try another way, or they've seen it wreck their families, or they've seen it run through their communities and everything else. And I really feel that the full spectrum oil is another tool that you can use to try to control inflammation, pain, insomnia, other maladies. You know what I mean? It doesn't always have to just be like top shelf narcotics, let's go and just knock you the fuck out, man.
Yeah, and even I look at it as a preventable too, like I want that in my body. And what I found out is it's a lot of the stores that sell a lot of it is the people that were caregivers, or had dispensaries from 8 years now, and made it through. It's the education, and like even someone will be coming in and like, buying 10 or 6 bags of some distillate gummies, and they're like, well, why don't you just get this dart? Like Jackson Stone Depot sells my RSO for $35 a gram, which is pretty good. We want to get it lower.
That's a good price, yeah.
But that's not bad at a retail level, and it's there for you, But like, think about all you could do with a gram of RSO versus, I don't know, 600 milligrams of distillate gummies. It's,
I mean, 9 years ago, I can remember when RSO was going for $60, $70 a gram. So, it makes it more affordable, But like you say, if you're using gummies to try to manage something, that adds up really quick. You buy 5 packs, you're like, holy cow, man, this ain't it.
And are they full spectrum? That's one of the big things as we're talking about this. Like I always think about like the truth in cannabis always wins out, like, and when people learn about like a typical distillate cart with botanical terps put into it versus like, and where it comes from, versus here's a single source live resin cart, and here's the terpene profile, and here's everything in it, and it tastes like the plant, and like here's the flower, for the most part, like that's been a fun education process.
Yeah, we've got a pretty educated like viewer base, so thankfully they do appreciate like rosin and live resin and non-distillate products. So I think we're fortunate in that aspect for sure.
Yeah, that sounds so gross to me. And that's another. I've been, I was away and probation and stuff. I had 5-6 years where I couldn't smoke, and so I missed out on like when I went away, the earwax was still cracking, in 2011, 12, and but now I've picked up my my level of I guess knowledge or practice, and I'm friends with a lot of the good guys. I've been knowing Kenny over and Matt over at NLG since 2010, so I'm definitely on their solvent list now, and then got to know a lot of those guys, and even the Wave and those products as well. So I'm well stocked with the good stuff, and that's something that's exciting. Is like for some of those solventless guys, why come into the market until it's the right deal? Is if you're on, you're doing just fine, and
right.
You don't want to sign up with the wrong company. Like, why would you? What the opportunity cost? But they're coming to the market, NLG, the Wave, and they're getting with the right growers that can grow that level, because obviously, like with Livewell, you can't with the PM all like the company like PM all over over everything, every harvest, like you can't do it. So it's a barrier entry point, and we've seen some companies try to enter it, and it's not that well.
It's a good point that I haven't thought about with the solventless. Is that a lot of the extracts are being ran through solvents because they can remediate that stuff.
Yeah, CRC. So we're we're not doing it. We're not doing any of that, because it's why I like get to do it and get to enjoy it, and want to do this for a long time. So why?
When you're you said that you like to make products that you like to consume, and you mentioned all sorts of extracts and stuff. When you're dabbing, what are you dabbing?
For the most part, if I have it, it's definitely the hash rosin solventless. I'm over here, and I've been renting a room with my good buddies over here at an office at Covert Law, Josh Covert and James McGill, and I love it here. We bought a building, it's the late 1800s, just down the street in Old Town, and late 1800s brick, beautiful building, and we'll be moving in that. So, but my point is, we have a rosin press in our law office, So I'm not a lawyer. Nice. It's a cool atmosphere, and there's a lot of dabbing going on, and a lot of pressing. So we're always throwing the butt
pressing
in there
between briefings. Yeah, man. For
sure. Yeah. No, it's pretty cool. I tell people I run a spot in a law office, but it's not what people think.
That's pretty fun.
But I like, and we mentioned I did hit the market with diamonds, but I prefer obviously the terps in there too. So I like a good rocks and sauce, or a good live resin, that's good that's great as well. So
I feel you. That's the same stuff that I dab. I'm sure that you've seen the case of the grandmother in Ypsilanti Township.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that. For the viewers, it's Judith Pontius, I believe. She has 55 medical plants growing in her home, and they're trying to get her to quit.
Yeah, there was a DeRuyter opinion that came out, and now, like, for any of the municipalities that want to try to regulate caregivers, like that's their beacon of light that they're pointing to, and this is really a test case. Bart Morris is the attorney. There's a lot of attention around it, and she seems to be game and to take the fight. She's got some funny quotes in the paper too. But it seems like it's a good situation.
Well, who better to fight for us than a 79-year-old, lady growing some plants?
Spokesperson, exactly. Yeah,
perfect.
She's not even at the high rate of the numbers that she could be at.
Yeah,
that's what you can manage.
She's not driving a blinged out car and shit. She's
growing weed at the last, maybe the last quarter of her life, whatever. That's awesome.
Yeah,
retired and enjoying it. Yeah, it's beautiful. But yeah, like right now, like there's just been, you can grow 72 plants in your residence, and that's the law, it's state law, and the DeRuyter opinion kind of gave a crack on that. So this is one of the first big test cases. So it's important that it doesn't go that way. You should always be able to grow 72 plants in your house. your private residence. That's a right forever. See, I look at it like I love Michigan. You know, we've done in the regulated market the last 3 months, we've done 150 million or 155 million. And I think July is going to be, I think it's going to be like 165. People are just out spending. But besides that, like people don't get it. Like there's so many caregivers here and so much flower, and you know, it goes all over. But like think about the cash that comes into our state. But we're being known, like people in California now consider Michigan the #2 cannabis market, flower market in the world for quality. Like, so a lot of people do too. Like I hear that all the time. We're getting a reputation. So like this is all part of the culture.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, like this is what we want. We want pure Michigan cannabis. We want to be known for this because when the walls do come down, you know, Sequence, we were talking about this before the show, like Illinois, Pennsylvania, Florida, New Jersey, like even Colorado now, like nobody's being innovative. Anyone can be, you can grow mids and be successful because it's limited competition. In Michigan, you can't do that. You got to be, you know, it's an arms race. So like we're just going forward. And Oklahoma is the ultimate spot right now for that. I'd say we're #2. And it's just like everyone's trying to get better. It's the culture. We build it. You know, Michigan's always had a history of, like since it's been around of kind of doing our own thing and not taking any shit. But what happens when the walls do come down and people can buy cannabis from anywhere? No one wants the companies that are growing shitty weed in Illinois or Pennsylvania. It's short-sighted, I guess, if people are just trying to get in and sell in three or 4 years, and that's their play. But it's super short-sighted.
I would say that people in Michigan never did stop growing, even during those 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, all that stuff. It was still being grown. You know what I mean? People understand that Michigan has its roots in cannabis.
It does, and that's like speaking of the MCMA. That's like I always kind of told them, like, sorry guys that you picked Michigan to open in, but like we talk about like where we're at. Like my company is, I'm just a brand, but I'm debt free and profitable, and my partner Driven Grow, they came up as caregivers, and they're pretty much like they're running a real business, like that's running it correctly and like managing it, but like. And these guys that came in that were real cocky with us at first, like, the main MCA members, and come to find out they borrowed almost all their money from industrial properties. It's something like that. It's a REIT, the Real Estate Investment Trust out of San Diego, and it's publicly traded. And so like most of those buildings and all those stores and grows and locations, they don't own any of it. They're leasing it. They got money. They're leasing it back. And it started at a 12% rate with a 3% kicker for the next 30 years. So now these guys' business model was all about being bought out. There's no way to sustain profitability. That's why like they don't want the SAFE Banking Act to pass, because guess what? Now what if we get money at 6%, 5%, and they're stuck because they leave those locations. A lot of local municipalities, the license doesn't go with them. So now that REIT has control of it all. So they're out there. They need the product artificially inflated. That's why they want to go after caregivers. They not only want to go after caregivers, they want to go after the smaller mom and pop growers that with their other legislation they introduced. So it's not just caregivers. It's the smaller growers a lot of them were caregivers that made it. But they're in a bind, like, and I think it was the Green Peak Skymet, they valued themselves like at $400 million before there was a plant in the ground. So you do that, and then you borrow that money at a high rate, and like, man, talk about a stressful way to live. And you're in the cannabis industry, like, that sounds horrible, but in the meantime, like, we're all, just running, like doing, we'll sleep on the floor if we have to, but like, it's not a big deal. Like, we can know that in the winter the sales aren't going to be like they are, in the summer. That's predictable. So it's pretty interesting how that's all played out in Michigan in favor of the littler guy. It's actually been pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it worked out that way, but I'm excited that it did for sure. And for the reasons that you mentioned, it makes a lot of sense. Constant arms race. It's going to be hard to have, several facilities and acres of plants or greenhouses or outdoor plants and maintain the quality that you can in a smaller facility where you got more hands and eyes on the plants.
Yep, and that kind of goes to why are you doing it for? If you're doing it because it's your passion, your love, and you don't want to do anything else, and well, then that's cool. Like whatever, be happy making a comfortable living, a blue collar or middle class or above, but there's just so many people that got into it and like are chasing in their business and the way they raise money. I mean, they're chasing like this 100, 200, $300 million payoff, or at least all these companies are. And it's just, a bad way to.
All the best cannabis that I've ever smoked has come from a person and not from a corporation. I mean, just think about it. When's the last time you heard somebody say anything about any of these companies other than that they did in fact fail testing, or that they did in fact try to inflate their numbers? Or, you know what I mean? Like, they're just trying to do a mass model, and cannabis shouldn't be like Kroger. You shouldn't just, walk into a store and walk down the aisle and there should be like 90 different things. Just, I don't know, man. It just seems like a really weird way, and it takes people away from the plant. Grow it yourself.
Exactly. And that's part of it is cannabis is like, it's crazy. It's a great equalizer. They don't consume it, a lot of them. And I've been in rooms where there's 3 people and they're probably making 40 grand a month combined. And like, they're asking questions about like something simple. And I'm like, most of the bud tenders next door can answer this question. And you guys are clueless and coming up with the wrong answer. And I'm just like, and I've been in a lot of these meetings and watched it, and like, just for the people that came in like that are humble and, like have humility and understand that and try to appreciate the culture and get into it. That's cool. Like that's what it's about. But like, that's few and far between. It's like, we get looked down on. It's like, oh, you didn't follow the path of this, and this, and get this job here and this, no, you were like getting arrested, or you were growing weed, or you weren't paying, whatever it is. They continued to look down upon us like that. And it's great, because if you do that, then you're never really going to understand cannabis, and then you're not going to understand the cannabis business. So it all comes down. It's not a commodity. And I heard that a lot in 2016. Just a commodity. It's just a commodity. Well, that's proven completely wrong.
That's amazing to see. I wanted to talk a little bit about your podcast. I know you just celebrated 1 year, and you had Dana Nessel on, which is incredible. 52 episodes uninterrupted. It's quite an achievement. We try to never miss an episode. We're pretty good at it, but yeah, congrats on 1 year. And I don't know what you want to share about the show, but it looks like you interview a lot of cool people. I got to catch the episode with Rick and Jamie. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, no, what started basically, we just did episode 53 yesterday, and we actually had Ida on, Ida Pearl Lee from the MCMA, talk about the summer annual. That's a party that's going on next week. It's a lot of fun, but it really, I was getting pushed to do one, and I was like hesitant, but all I do is talk about marijuana all day, and the marijuana politics and the industry and the market, and like that's it. I mean, and then we would see, like, I would see these articles coming out by a lot of MCMA members and other people, like trying to rewrite the history of cannabis in Michigan. And I was like, oh no. So like, that was part of it too. I wanted to get on record, just like interview all these people and relive all these moments that happened and how it really went down. And it's really transformed into something where, we get anywhere, on a low end on the podcast, like we'll get, 300 downloads, but we'll get all the way up to 800. And it's really almost all industry people in Michigan, because we'll be talking about what's going on, or the market, or like whatever's happening day to day. And I'm sure you guys have had it happen to you or hear about it. I've been kicked out of stuff. I've been so many bank accounts shut down over the last 10 years. It's not funny. Now I go into Dart Bank, and they all listen to the podcast, and they're all doing it. So it's actually turned into a great exercise to be able to talk. As you guys know, like it's a muscle that, if
you're a well-connected guy, man. You've got all kinds of big names on here.
But the thing about a podcast, though, is if you're genuinely interested in the conversation has itself, and you just happen to be recording it. You know what I mean?
That's it. And no, and it's like all the people I met over along the way, and to get them on, and then then you see them later on, and they're on your podcast, and it's cool. And but also just there's a lot of people that are ancillary members. We have a Maynard Castarian, it's a big accounting firm. They reached out to us and asked if they could sponsor. So I said, yeah, I didn't even think about that. So I'd love to get to Dark Bank on too for the ancillary businesses where there's a lot of like decision makers listening to the podcast. So that's kind of and we do also have people. I know I got people down in Jackson prison that listen to it. I get messages. I didn't have a cell phone when I was in there because I'd lose my ear and get sent up to the next level. But a little bit looser down there in Jackson, I guess. So that's kind of.
And just saying that is weird, isn't it? They're a lot looser down in Jackson now.
Yeah, well, I guess they got more issues to worry about than where I was at. But it's been great. We're gonna keep it going, and one of the things I want to do is we got these Blue Yeti mics, and they're nice. We're gonna get one more sponsor. Then each one of our guests, we plan on sending out a Blue Yeti mic with with a Smoking Rope logo on it, and that's kind of it. Get to kind of be a thought leader on some stuff, and the airwaves, and that's one of the great things about what's happened with in Michigan with our network, whether it's you guys, whether it's Medical Mondays, whether it's Jazz Cabbage, whether it's Rick and whoever else and ourselves. We got all the shows, so we can kind of get the information out. Like the enemy, I call them, they don't have a show, and they've tried a couple, and I study those. I've watched every single one, any of those guys.
Does not go well.
No, there's a call for those town criers, for cannabis, and let people know exactly what's going on and what the bigger scheme is and where things are headed.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's cool that way, and you can't go out and buy a show. Your daddy can't give you a show, and you can't make it something up, even though you want to. So, it's great. Like I always tell people in Michigan, there's no other place I would rather be. So I'm real happy to. And I love the Lansing area, and just the fact that we get to do this and get to kind of help create the world we wanted to live in with cannabis here. And it's just getting started, but I want Michigan to be just the tourism of people coming here. Now I got guys from prison hitting me up. All right, I'm coming up. Like everyone wants to come see Michigan, hear about it, and once we get these lounges going and a lot more cool things are happening. I mean, I've heard of some really cool projects by some really cool people, and it'll be owner operated type resort type stuff. Just it's awesome. So
having rec here helps so much with a lot of ideas, I think, and the tourism aspect as well.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was wrong on rec, and I'm happy about it. Like it's one of the big I guess counterpoints would be like, oh, all these new people are going to be getting high and all this stuff. And I was like, no, everyone that wants to smoke already smoking. Well, I was wrong. There's a lot of new people smoking that never smoked before. It's awesome.
But they always wanted to, though. But they always, you know what I mean? It's just that they were so afraid, and they'd listen to all.
Well, now morally, it's not wrong, right? So
exactly.
A lot of people, they're cool with it because it's not illegal.
Yeah, which was hard for me to comprehend because
it's really weird.
Sure you guys are too. Well, if it's either right or wrong, I'm not listening to the fucking government tell me if it's right or not. They're a bunch of idiots, They're just telling me, it's still telling us that it's more dangerous than heroin and fentanyl and coke and everything else. So they got a credibility problem. They want everybody to listen to what they're saying, but hey, quit lying to me.
Did you see the article that just came out where they're trying to roll out a draft? They're rolling out a draft bill for legalization. Yeah, sure you saw it, and I was wondering what your thoughts were on that and how that might, especially your thoughts on it because of the, federal case against you, and then of course you talked about the banking, so this would be really nice in that aspect. So. you could borrow money at lower rates and be a lot safer banking.
And yeah, even like, so people are like, oh, right now the government's not, collecting taxes. Well, they're taxing the shit out of these business federally because of the 280E exemption. So like, that needs to get fixed. And that's that in the Safe Banking Act. It doesn't make sense. I've I've gone to DC with the NCIA, and we lobbied for the Safe Banking Act, and it was actually at the end of 19. And one of the things I was like talking to the senators, like Wyoming, like, why do we care? I'm like, well, right now, and it's still the case, you got all these bank regulators spending all the time tracking and looking into state legal advertised cannabis businesses when they could be looking at domestic terrorists, foreign terrorists, like all the real stuff. Like that's a big deal for the whole country. So it's that's like what gets me pissed off, is like just stupid common sense stuff like that. Come on, like, and then
like they're already abiding by certain regulations and caring about the law and that sort of deal.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, so like, yeah, it's serious. Like, I don't want terrorists to come attack us. That's always an option, So like, that's real. Like, why would we do that? There's no common sense with that. But the one thing about it that I didn't like, I do like that it allows states to decide on their own and keep their own frameworks. It decrim, like people aren't going to decrim marijuana big time, and then I don't know if I would get a pardon from it, or like whatever you want to call it from it. Because right now, only way for me to get my record expunged is to get a presidential pardon. So I don't know if that was included or not. But they did put in there a tax rate that was just too much. Like, went up from like 12% to like 25%.
It says that it would expunge federal nonviolent marijuana crimes.
Well, that's me. All right.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I'll take it.
They're loopholing your ass out of that.
Dude, the wheels of justice, they spin awful slowly when they're supposed to benefit you.
Oh man. That's the one thing. It does feel good. Always talked about like momentum, and me personally, like, it's been like pushing a rock for years, and now I got like the wind at my back, and it's just nuts. You don't let up, but like the legalization, and watching it firsthand in Michigan of like how slow and how hard a push it was, and how fast, and again, what's going on now, it's going so fast. Like, I feel like it's just speeding up that part of it, and the criminal justice reform is starting to do that too. And that's not where marijuana legalization is yet, but that's starting to happen too. But good thing is one of my new friends I've gotten to know is Weldon Angelos. He got pardoned by Trump. He did 55-year sentence for 3 ounces of weed, and he did 13 years. But he's worked with the White House and gotten a lot of people expunged. I got close with this past year. He got it, but then the January 6th happened, and no, hell broke loose. I was out. I was actually getting looked at, as hard as to believe as that is. But like, he works with the Koch brothers, and he has been on criminal justice reform, and they're putting together a pretty big program and working on the Senate, which is where the bill came out of. And I don't think they're going to sign on to like a 25% tax. So I'm glad they're on that. Like, let's tax it, let's make money. But like why is marijuana, like, why we don't get regular loans? We have to put cash in. We rehab buildings. We have to go through like a casino level regulations. We have to do social equity, which I love, but like, it's on our backs. Why? Everyone wants to put marijuana industry. Let's just tax them, make them do all this change for
jump over all these hurdles.
Yeah. For the honor of doing it. It's the toughest business out there right now with all that. Like, so I say to other industries, and I'm on panels like, hey, we could use your guys' help. What makes you guys exempt from doing all this stuff? Why are you putting it on our backs and want to make all this change? Which we're up for the challenge, it's but still, like, we need more involvement from the other industries as well. It's not just, we don't need to make marijuana the savior for everything.
I only had one more question for you. Is how do you grow? What do you guys do? You like cocoa like I do? Do you use rock wool? Do you use soil? How do you guys rock over there?
Yeah, it's depending on the grower. It is mostly cocoa. There is one rock wool, And then which one of my new growers, which is really hard to do and get the taste to come through, but they're able to do it. They are doing aeroponics. You know, the old DWC, not that style, but some of the best nose on any flower I've smelled on the regulated market, which kind of can come along with that. But yeah, different methods. And with my brand, it's Redemption, but on every whoever grew it, we co-promote. So I want everybody to know.
Oh, nice.
I want to know every grower that has their logo on it, says it's cultivated by them, and we work together on that. So I got
take pride in it, man.
Yeah, like I want to. So we pick companies that have the same belief and same background, and I know that have as good of or better standards as me. It makes my life a lot easier. I'm not out quality controlling all over because they're there to do it and they get it done. So it's always been about co-promoting. Everyone should know who's growing their cannabis, not some logo. And like here's the actual grower and the head grower or the owner, and most of them were all caregivers. One of them wasn't, but he was a marijuana felon, and got a bunch of people in there growing that were caregivers. So that's the ticket. I'm loving that. I can't wait. I'm in a condo right now, but waiting here a year and a half. Maybe the old housing market will come back down, and can't wait to get a nice property again. And
good luck.
Yeah, no. Well, hopefully the foreclosures might start happening here this fall. That'll help a little bit, but I can't wait to grow again. I've never been legally grow outdoors. I want to grow 12 plants outdoors, in my backyard. That's one of my next goals to accomplish.
Well, thank you, Ryan, for joining us from Redemption. Skilbo, what do you think?
I think it's been a really good conversation, and I do have one question for you, Ryan, is can you shout out and steer traffic your way for all of your socials and your website?
Sure,
and where people can find you as far as in stores or cities and things.
Yep. As far as the social media, it's Redemption Canna for everything. There's also Smoke and Roll Podcast and Redemption Foundation. But it's www.redemptioncanna.com. Getting a whole new website. We'll have the map locator on there. If you ever want to message an Instagram, say what area you're in, and I'll direct you to a store. Like I said, we're in 65 stores now. We're in all over the whole state, pretty much in every market. All the way on the UP border to the Indiana border, the Ohio border, and everything in between. So, that's it. Message. A lot of times it'll be me. I love to talk about it and get feedback. And then we do have, I'm doing a lot of merchandising coming up, and a lot of specialty stuff, a lot of artwork done, custom stuff, whether it's going to be some skateboards, some different decks, longboards. I got some real cool stuff. I got my prison uniform I used to have, recreated and given away to old people that have been in prison for marijuana and embroidered, but I'm giving it all away. There'll be a lot of contests to top customers and stores and friends, and looking forward to it. When we do vendor days, we do one a week, and we're going to start doing 2 a week. We give away 200 pre-rolls at every vendor day, sometimes more. So that's my marketing, is just giving away merchandise and giving away the product. And
the classic marketing there.
Hey, you just try it out and let people talk about it. So that's it,
Yeah, man. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for fighting for us for so long. And I wish you continued success, man. It's good to see you doing so well after going through so much shit.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and love the show. And you guys keep doing what you're doing. And just so everyone that's listening out there, there's a lot of people in the regulated market that are there and have been fighting and are on watch to make sure, that nothing does change with the law, So Michigan is unique that way. So we were all caregivers. I can't be a caregiver, but a lot of the people were. So I'm excited, and I love the fact that Michigan's got all this open sourcing like an app. You guys are, all these growers, all this seeds being popped, all this knowledge being shared, and Just want to keep seeing it happen, and hopefully people like you come over and get a Class A or a really craft flower and craft products, because there's always going to be a market for it in Michigan. It'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yep.
Skilbo? Dude, I could take another half hour of this, but we can't do it. So
all right.
That means next time.
Next time.